Welcome to Life on Vibes TV. Like, share, and subscribe. If you watch my other video, that one is on hell. Take a look at that. This one is on heaven. These experiences I'm sharing with you was shared unto me by the Most High. And he said to me, I show you these things because you was in doubt, and I show you these things so that you can bear witness that I am. And that's what I'm trying to do the best way that I can. So, without any further ado, let's go. So, this story starts in 1998 when I was pregnant with my second son. During this time, I just started university, right? And I was in my first year and I was pregnant. I was pregnant throughout that first year. So towards the end of my first year, 1998, I was going to have my second son. So by this time, my first son was like 3 years old and had just started nursery. And these are half-day nurseries where they either go 9 to 12 or 1 to 3. So my son was attending the early shift, which was 9 to 12. So on this day, I had dropped my first son to nursery. I'm just going to take this story back a bit so you can understand where it stems from. So I dropped my first son to nursery and I came home and I said, let me cook something quickly, before I have to go back and pick him up at 12 o'clock because it was very tiring being at uni, being pregnant, having one child, and also running a business. So I said, let me cook something quickly before I picked up my first son. Now, I was in my kitchen in the UK cooking, and I know I wasn't dreaming because this was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then when I looked at my kitchen door, like I looked at the door, and I saw my dad standing there. Now, my dad has never been to England. My dad was born in Africa. And when I saw him standing there, I was thinking, but what's my dad doing here? He doesn't live in England. But at the same time, I'm looking at him and I think, but he looks so real, like, is it really him? So then I said to him, Dad, what are you doing here? And then he said to me, he said, UK, why aren't you coming to see me? He said, UK, why aren't you coming to see me? So then I knew in my mind that my dad is not in England. So then I looked at him and I said, it's all right, Dad, go, I'm coming. That's what I said. I said, it's okay, Dad, go, I'm coming. And then he vanished. Just like that, he just vanished. I was just still there thinking, what? And then I just finished cooking and then I went and picked up my son. And then a couple of days later, I dreamt that he was, I dreamt that I was in a hospital in a ward and by a bedside, and on that bed was a body that was wrapped up from head to toe in bandages. And I went to the body and I unwrapped the bandage around from the head and saw that it was my dad. And there was a soup on a table next to the bed. So I started feeding him the soup. I know it doesn't make sense because when I think about it, it was wrapped from head to toe, and I unwrapped it and fed him the soup. That was just the dream I had 2 days later after I saw him in my kitchen. So at this point, I was due to deliver. I was due to have my second son, like that week, and I just kind of put those experiences to the back of my mind because I had to focus on delivering. So then I gave birth to my second son, and I just decided to call him Daniel, which was my dad's name. And I called him Daniel. And I also called him Kelechi, which is a Nigerian name, an Igbo name, which means there's God, which means thank God. My first son is called Chidi, which means there's God. And Kelechi means thank God. So after I had my son, I phoned my sister who was in England, you know, and I was letting her know that I've had the baby and everything. So in conversation, I was talking to her about our dad. So I explained to her what I had experienced, you know, how he came to me in my kitchen and how I had a dream about the hospital. So I said, like, why is this happening? And she said, well, she doesn't know how else to tell me, but it looks like he came to say his goodbyes because he died 2 weeks ago. So I was like, what do you mean he died 2 weeks ago? Like, how comes nobody told me? And she said, like, the family decided not to put that pressure on me because I was expecting, I was taking my exams, I had a lot of pressure on me. So, being considerate, they thought, let me deliver first, at least, before they tell me that. So, um, so I delivered and I named my second son after my dad. So now I'm finding out that my dad has passed. So from one body gone, my dad has gone, my son came. And I also called my son my dad's name. So already there was a spiritual connection between my son and my dad, you know? So during that time, I couldn't go to Africa to bury him because obviously I couldn't take the newborn. And, so I didn't get to bury my dad. Now in Africa, my dad was a chief, right? Um, and he used to have this royal robe, you could call it, which was deep velvet red. Deep velvet red. When you touch the robe, it's so soft, so soft. deep velvet red. And then on top of that red, there used to be black rose petal prints. Like if you snip a rose and then do print the rose prints all over it. Black rose petal prints on top of the red velvet robe. Now the reason I'm describing the robe to you is because later on the robe the robe is different. So I would like you to remember the color of the robe, you know? So anyway, he used to be a chief while he was alive. And he had 13 children, you know, three with his first wife and 10 with my mom, five boys and five girls. So there's 13 of us, you know. And so he died and he got buried and that was that. And then I continued uni and during that time, as my sons grew, obviously if you go back to my video of hell, during that time at uni I caught tuberculosis and had to be cured, which is when I died and went to hell because they messed up the operation, just to put it basically. But you can look back at the video and see it in detail. So I caught TB, I got healed, but I felt like there was unfinished business between me and my dad. Like I didn't go to bury him, I didn't get to say goodbye. So, and then all my life I'd seen him work so hard, and he raised all his 13 children. He raised all of us, and he was also a maths teacher. You know, he was also a maths teacher, and and he taught me maths. I was in his class. Days when I didn't used to do my homework, he wouldn't tell me to do my homework at home, but in class he would whip my ass. Yeah, my dad trained me like we was in military. Everybody was productive, self-sufficient, productive. So after my dad died, and as I was, you know, growing up my kids, I always questioned God, like, where is my dad? Like, is he in heaven or is he in hell? Right? And the reason I used to question God was like I knew my dad was a good man with a good heart. I grew up watching him work hard to support his family and his community, right? And he will give you the shirt off his back. So I knew he was a good man. And like I said, I was questioning God, is my dad in heaven or hell? Because I came to England at the age of 8. And it was when I got to England, I learned about baptism. Back home was traditional, traditional. African culture, traditional. And I didn't remember my mom or dad ever talking about baptism. I don't know if it was baptized at birth, but growing up, we never spoke about, oh, you have to go and get baptized to go to heaven, right? So when I came to England and going to church and hearing you have to get baptized to go to heaven, I was asking God, where is my dad? Because I'm saying to myself, if my dad had a good heart and didn't get baptized, would he go to hell? And I wanted to know. And it was many years, 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 years And then, like I said in the video where I caught TB, after I recovered a few years, I got baptized, right? Because I made God a certain promise. And I felt like that was the only way of saying, like, God, I'm not taking you for a joke, right? I'm not just here to have a whirlwind romance with life. So, and it's taken me a long time to come to this point to share this, but I have to say the devil is a liar, you know, because God wanted me to share this so that people can know of my experience and other people's experiences. Because many people don't believe in God, they don't believe in heaven, they don't believe in hell. They're not, I wouldn't say religiously inclined, because God is different from religion. So you can be spiritually connected to God, just like, you know, my dad wasn't baptized, but he went to heaven. Now, I'm not saying don't get baptized, and you know, I'm just saying my dad wasn't baptized and he did good and he had a good heart, and I have seen him in heaven. So I know God deals with affairs of the heart. That's one. But there's nothing wrong with baptism. That's what they say in the New Testament. You have to baptize in the name of Jesus to go to heaven. Right? The way I see it, better be safe than sorry, right? So I got baptized. So then, after I got baptized, I woke up in heaven where I saw my dad in glory. And like I said in my other video, when you're in heaven or hell, you become enlightened. Like the things that I have experienced, I should write them down, but they have never left me. It's just like I experienced them yesterday. So anyway, I woke up in heaven and I saw my dad in glory. Like I saw my dad. My dad died like, first of all, the color of heaven is the purest gold that you have ever seen in your whole entire life. The gold in heaven compared to the gold on earth is like the gold on earth has been washed out a million times. It's like you bleached the gold on earth. That's how faint the gold on earth is compared to the gold, the richness of the gold, the color of the gold in heaven. Right? So I've woken up in a room that's just gold, like gold, rich gold. And this gold is like, it's shining, it's glowing gold, it's glowing gold. And then imagine if you get one pin and you pierce thousands of holes in the wall, thousands of holes, right? And then you leave that room and go behind and shine a bright light and shine a bright, and that light comes through the holes and shine into that gold. Rays, 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 thousands of white rays in the gold, right? Light, rays, rays of light in the gold, right? And I saw my dad with his arm stretched out, smiling. My dad died like 90 odd. When I see my dad, he looked like 35. So then, my like, I'm a barber, right? And I remember back in Africa, my dad had gray hair. Like before he went to school to teach, he used to bring out his dye and his brush and just cover the gray hairs and then go, right? But in heaven, my dad's hair was jet black, and it had the perfect afro, bubble afro that you have ever seen. Even I can't cut that perfect. Just the perfect afro, like a bubble afro, like a bubble cut. Barbers would know what I mean by a bubble cut. It starts flat and then it goes out and then it joins like a bubble cut. And then it was glistening. I don't know who took sheen up there, but the afro had like glistening, right? The afro was glistening. And he had his arm that stretched like this, like smiling at me, big smile. And the first thing I said to myself was, I want to go and hug him. And then, like I said about enlightenment, when I said that, I didn't actually feel myself say it, but I know I said it. I want to go and hug him. And then my own voice said, if you go to hug him, you will go through him. He's not physical, he's light. Right? When I look on the floor, my dad is not on the floor. My dad is like levitating. And then he's light, actually light was coming, light was coming through his robes, the robes of his, the robes, the robe that he had on was the same royal robe that he used to wear on earth. But in heaven, the deep red velvet was gold now. And the black rose petals print was light. It was like light was coming through the petals, light in the same shape of a petal, but light radiating through the petals. And the deep velvet red was now gold, right? So I'm just like, wow, look at my dad in glory. Like he's in heaven and he's light, he's glowing, right? So me, I'm still doubting, like, this is not heaven. Because it's like I was standing in a room that was this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful room, right? And next to my dad, it's like my dad was here. That was my dad was on my left, and there was a seat on my right as I'm looking forward, right? So I'm saying, well, if this is heaven, where's God's throne? Yeah? And then I look at the seat that's next to my dad, because I'm expecting God's throne to be full of gold, diamonds, riches, because, yeah? But the seat that I'm looking at was the same as the molded stone seat that you get in the pyramids, like where the pharaoh sits down on. That's the only thing I can use to describe it. It was plastered like when you freshly plaster a cement job and it's drying. When it dries dark grey and light grey, that was the two colors that was on that chair, right? And when I first woke up there or went there or dreamt it, when I first found myself in heaven, I tried to look on that seat. After I look at my dad, after I saw my dad, I tried to look on that seat. Like I said, is that the throne of God? I'm questioning everything I'm seeing. Like I know it's not hell, but I want to know if it's heaven. So I'm saying, but if that's the throne of God, God is God, how comes it's just plain? And then my voice said, because God is not a God of vanity, right? And then when I looked, first I tried to look and see who was on the chair. And then I tried, every time I looked from the floor up to the knee, somehow my vision would be switched back to my dad smiling. And I tried it 3 times because I I wanted to see God's face, what it looked like, to be honest. Yeah, I was there. I wanted to see if God was there. But then after the third time of my dad switching back to my dad, that voice said to me, no man seeth the face of God and lives. So I said, oh, so does that mean if I see God's face, I would die? So I stopped looking. I was, and I remembered my 2 sons, right? So I stopped looking because I didn't want to die because I had my sons. And that's another thing I realized about the 2 planes. It's like when you're in heaven or hell, you don't remember your life on earth. This life, let me say it again, when you're in heaven or hell, you do not remember your life on earth. Everything we do on this life, buy a house, work, party, shopping, we don't remember that. We only remember bloodline, our sibling, right? So I stopped trying to look on that chair. But on that chair, where I saw, imagine if you get all the colors of the rainbow, right? All the colors, tin paints. Imagine you get tin paints, right? And then you take the brush and take off all the hair and leave one. And then you dip it in red and strike the chair. Dip it, clean it, dip it in blue, strike the chair. Clean it, dip it in orange, strike the chair. All the colors of the rainbow was on that chair, like one strike, yeah? But then they were moving. So I said, but hold on, how comes the colors are moving? Like they have a life of their own. And then my voice said, this is what's meant by living colors. In heaven, the colors are alive. It's not like earth. When I tell people about this experience, I tell them that earth is God's Picasso. Earth is a dried painting. Earth is God's artwork. You know, earth is like a movie to God. Like every single color was on that chair and it was moving and it had life, right? And then back to my dad. My dad died at 90 odd, like I said. When I look, like I said, he looked 35. So I started asking, but how comes my dad looks so young? And I know he died old with his gray hair, I know. And then my voice said, because God captures us at our prime for eternity. Yeah, so that, you know, one day you're going to look at yourself and say, man, I look good. Hmm? God takes a snap of you in perfection on earth, and then he saves that snap for heaven, for eternity. So that when you're in the middle of your lifespan, people who have gone before you will be able to recognize you, and people who are coming after you will be able to recognize you in heaven. Your people, your own blood, yeah? So, yeah, that voice said, because God captures us at our prime for eternity, yeah? So then I was still in doubt. And then I said, but I'm just in a room. Just in a room. Like, I thought, like, if everybody on earth was um good and did the right thing, they could come to heaven. Then I said, this place is not going to fit everyone. And then I said, I'm going to walk to touch the wall. Like, I wanted to know if this was it. This room, like, is this it? Is this heaven? And then before I moved, that voice said to me, if you walk to touch the wall, you'll be walking for eternity because in my Father's house there are many rooms. So I said, oh my God. So that means I imagined walking forever. Then I thought, so that means heaven is never ending. Yeah? And then I remembered I remembered that they said used to say ask and it shall be given. So I said, let me ask for the biggest mansion ever. Humans will never learn. And then my voice came and said to me, you're still being that greedy little sod that you was on earth. There is no vanity. So I said, I don't want no mansion. I don't want it. Right? And then I was wondering, like we never it's almost like when somebody's telling you the truth and then for some reason you just think is a lie. Even with proof, you still think it's a lie. I was in heaven and I was doubting I was in heaven. So I'm going through my thoughts of asking all these questions. And I am the one holding all the answers. Yeah? And then I looked back because everything was just in front of me. Because I don't know, I was thinking if I look back, maybe I will see Earth. Like, when you're in space, and I just thought I would see Earth. And when I looked behind me, it was just like a wormhole to like a wormhole, like a tube from where I was. Like you can see in the far distant, a little hole, like a little white hole. And I was thinking, I wonder where that place is. It seemed so long. The hole was just tiny hole at the end there. Now I'm talking about it, I'm wondering if that's hell. Down the other side, down there. But because in hell I saw a light, a bright light that came down from so far up. But anyway, yeah, I looked back and I saw this little light in the distance. And then my own voice even said to me, Earth is not in existence in this realm. And I said, whoa, this realm, like realm is like different from our universe, yeah? So yeah, and what else can I tell you about that experience? Seeing my dad in glory. I know heaven is there. Heaven is the most, if I never had children, I would not have come back. God no, I swear, if I never had children, I would have stayed in heaven somehow. And then I was saying, but because that chair, there was no one on it. I was still asking, but where's God? Like the chair is empty, the throne is empty. Is that his throne? Is empty. And I was thinking, Is he everywhere now? Is he gone? Is he everywhere? That's why he's not on the throne. Or do we see him at the end? And then I was speaking to someone about the experience, and they said to me that God shows himself to us in the form of somebody that we know, like someone that we know. And I only saw my dad in heaven and that chair, you know? So I would just like you to know that yeah, God is real, God is alive, He's living, and like this life is so, we think it's long, but it's so quick. It's so quick when you're talking about God. It's so quick. So I would just like you to try to get to know God. I was saying that all the money in this world times a million given to me will not stop me going to heaven. I would rather be on the street with no food, no home, no money, and have a good heart and a pure heart that will get me into heaven, rather than be rich in this world and end up in the hell that I've been to. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You know, and like I said, God said, you was in doubt because, yeah, I questioned him. God is my creator. Asking him a question is not disrespectful because he answers me. You know? And God has a sense of humor. Like, don't be afraid to talk to God. Talk to God like you talk to your friend. But talk to God with a sincere heart. And don't make God promises you can't keep. You know? That's why I'm taking the steps to fulfill my promise to God, because I promise to serve him with my life. And I'm grateful for his love and mercy and compassion, because these things happened years ago. And I should have been speaking about them years ago. You know? And God has a sense of humor. When God speaks, you will know God's speaking. Because oftentimes when we hear God speak, we decide to do the opposite of what he's telling us to do. And the choices you make here determines where you end up when you leave here. See, when you leave the world, you're checking out of one place and going through the doors of another place. So choose the right door, please. Choose the right door. Because many people have gone and can't come back. And I am ever so grateful for having a second chance at life. You know, I always say, if you're ashamed of God, when you die, God will be ashamed of you. And I'm proud of God. And I love God. Yeah. So, hope you enjoyed that experience, everyone. Bless up yourself, yeah? Show love to each and every one. God is love. God is simple, you know. He's not complicated. God is simple. God is love. And treat everyone like you want to be treated. You know? So, thank you for your time. Life on Vibes TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Okay. Next time.